Hey everyone, and welcome to RUBIN'S Mind Lab, where we break down the latest research into what it really means. Ever wonder why we struggle to be fair when it means giving up something for ourselves? This new study dives into the brain science behind our self-interest and how we might be able to control it. Imagine you are playing a game where someone offers you a deal. You can either accept it or reject it, and if you reject it, neither of you gets anything. This is the core of the Ultimatum game, and it is a fantastic way to see how people balance their own needs with fairness to others. We tend to think of ourselves as pretty rational, right? We want to get the most money. But studies show we often reject offers that aren't fair, even if it means getting nothing ourselves. Why is that? This paper explores the idea that being self-interested is often our automatic gut reaction. To be fair or reciprocal, we need to exert mental effort, like putting on the brakes to control that initial selfish urge. Scientists have been looking at a specific part of the brain called the right dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, or rDLPFC for short. They think this area is like the brain's control center for managing this conflict between wanting everything for yourself and wanting to be fair. Now, some studies have played around with this rDLPFC region using brain stimulation techniques. When they've made this area less active, people tended to be more self-interested, accepting unfair offers. But the results have been a bit mixed when they've tried to boost activity in this area, hoping it would make people more fair. Some studies found it worked. Others didn't, and it was also unclear if this boost only affected fairness when someone intentionally tried to be unfair, or if it also helped when unfairness just kind of happened by accident. That's where this study comes in. The researchers wanted to get a clearer picture. They used a type of brain stimulation called transcranial direct current stimulation, or tDCS. Think of it like a gentle electrical current applied to the scalp that can either slightly excite or inhibit the brain area underneath. They used Anodal tDCS, which is supposed to increase the activity in a brain region. Their idea was to zap the rDLPFC and see if this made people less self-interested, leading them to reject more unfair offers. More importantly, they wanted to test if this brain boost could help us be fair in two different ways. First, there is fairness based on how outcomes are divided. If an offer is very unequal, even if it is not someone's fault, we might reject it because we just don't like inequality. That is inequality aversion. Second, there is fairness based on intentions. If someone deliberately offers you a bad deal, you might reject it as punishment for their meanness. That is reciprocal fairness. These two are often mixed up in the standard Ultimatum game. To separate these two, they used a clever trick. In half of the game trials, a human partner would make an offer. In the other half, a computer program would randomly generate the offer, just like rolling dice. This way, when an unfair offer came from the computer, there was no intended unfairness, just an unequal outcome. This allowed them to see if boosting the rDLPFC helped with both intentional unfairness and unintentional inequality. So how did they do it? They recruited about 55 college students. These students played a computerized version of the Ultimatum game. They were told they were playing with other students from different universities. Throughout the game, they received offers on how to split 100 Israeli shekels, or about $30. These offers varied from very fair, like splitting it 50/50ths, to very unfair, like getting only 10 shekels for yourself and the other person getting 90. Half of the participants received the real Anodal tDC stimulation over the rDLPFC for about 20 minutes before and during the game. The other half received the sham stimulation, where they felt the initial tingling but then the current quickly faded, so they didn't know if they were getting the real deal or not. This is called a placebo or sham condition, and it is crucial for making sure any effects are actually due to the brain stimulation. And the results? Well, they were pretty exciting. First, the stimulation itself didn't seem to cause any significant difference in discomfort between the groups, which is good for an experiment. As expected, the game showed that unfair offers were rejected more often than fair ones, and offers from human partners were rejected a bit more than those generated by the computer, showing that intention does matter. But the big finding related to the tDCs. They found that when people received the real stimulation to their rDLPFC, they were more likely to reject the unfair offers. This effect was especially strong for the most unfair offers. This is a really important point. This increased rejection of unfair offers happened both when the offer came from a human partner and when it was randomly generated by the computer. This tells us that boosting the rDLPFC didn't just make people punish intentional unfairness. It also made them more sensitive to inequality itself, even when no one was really to blame for it. In simpler terms, making the rDLPFC more active helped people be less selfish and more considerate of fairness. regardless of whether the unfairness was intentional or not. This strengthens the idea that the rDLPFC plays a key role in overriding our default self-interested tendencies. So what does this all mean? The study adds strong evidence that the rDLPFC is like a bouncer for our selfish impulses. When this area is buzzing with activity, it is harder for our self-interest to win out, and we're more likely to choose fairness. What's particularly neat is how this research tackled the difference between intentional unfairness and just plain inequality. By using the computer-generated offers, they showed that enhancing the rDLPFC helps us react to both. This means the brain region isn't just about punishing sneaky people, it is also about making sure things are generally more equitable. The researchers also pointed out something interesting comparing the rDLPFC to a nearby brain area. The rDLPFC previous studies with the rDLPFC showed that stimulating it actually made people more self-interested. This suggests these two brain regions, though close, have opposite jobs. The rDLPFC might be more about imposing behavioral rules and fairness, while the rDLPFC might be more about managing emotions that could lead to selfish choices. It is like having different mental tools for different kinds of self-control. Now, like all studies, this one has its limits. They use mostly psychology students, and it would be great to see this tested in a more diverse group of people. Also, they focused on just one brain area. Future research could explore how other brain regions interact with the rDLPFC in these fairness decisions. They also mentioned that a more advanced approach could involve using complex computer models to understand individual differences in fairness preferences. But even with these limitations, the findings are significant. They offer a clearer understanding of how our brain helps us navigate social situations where self-interest and fairness clash. It suggests that our selfish tendencies might be the default, and it takes specific brain processes, like those in the rDLPFC, to push us towards more socially considerate behavior. This research isn't just about a game. It touches on why we care about fair wages, why we get upset by price gouging, and why we often try to do the right thing even when it is not the easiest. By understanding the brain mechanisms behind these decisions, we can get closer to understanding what makes us human and how we can foster fairer societies. What do you guys think about this? Does it make sense that controlling our greed takes active brain work? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the brain, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to Rubin's Mind Lab for more science breakdowns, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next exploration into the fascinating world of the mind. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.